Well, joining me now from Chongqing is political analyst Alex Reporter5, who has been closely following the diplomatic standoff between Washington and Tehran and the wider regional implications. Alex, well, welcome. Good to have you with us on the show. Now, from where things stand right now, would you say that we're looking at a genuine pause in the talks, or are the two sides repositioning ahead of the next step?
Well, I think from where things stand tonight, it's more of a calculated repositioning. While the Islamabad talks in mid-April did show some progress, they stalled because, again, the United States continues to demand zero enrichment. And I think that is a red line for Iran's sovereignty. We have seen the Americans with their bomb, bully, and bankrupt of nations. I mean, Tehran is not walking away, but it is making it clear that it is not in the mood to negotiate with a gun to its head. By maintaining the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, Iran is kind of using its potent economic pressure and leverage to ensure that the United States really understands that a pause in diplomacy has a direct daily cost into the millions and potentially billions to the global markets.
Well, Washington says that pressure is necessary, while Tehran is effectively saying pressure kills diplomacy. At this point in time, is there still any realistic path back to the negotiating table?
That's a very good question, and I do believe there is a path here, but it's pretty narrow. I mean, Tehran's official stance here, mentioned by the president, I believe it was on the 26th of April, is that pressure kills diplomacy. And the Iranian condition is diplomacy cannot resume while the United States counter blockade remains in place. I mean, the economic reality here with the prices of oil, I think we saw Brent crude surge past $120 a barrel. The global oil production has been dropped by 10 to 15 million barrels a day. We are seeing, oil shock, and that's pretty tough. And the path back is being paved by international desperation. It's not just the Americans that are in negotiations here. It's the entire Middle East that are pressuring the Americans, saying, you know what? We can't wreck our economies because you want to wreak havoc in the Middle East. The U.S. recently issued limited sanction exemptions, but for an already loaded barrels, suggesting that even Washington realizes the current pressure is backfiring. They're going to have a global catastrophe on their hands here, and the economy is going to nosedive.
Alex, you've touched upon one of the main sticking points, the right to enrich uranium. Now, how much of all of this is about those policies, and how much of it would you say is politics, especially with Donald Trump now facing domestic pressure?
Well, he is facing pressure. I mean, what makes it important for the average American is that they can put food on the table and gas in their car. Now, you got gasoline that's at $4 a gallon late March. April could go to 5, 6, maybe even $7 by mid-May. Trump is caught between his, I think we all know about his America First promise, but and his forever wars. He built his platform on that, and that's what he got reelected on. Now, this is pretty difficult. He's got a lot of people in his base, a lot of influencers that backed him in his election have walked away from him. Really big notable names like Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson. I mean, the U.S. they're demanding Iran stop enrichment for 20 years. Now, Iran has, I think, politely come to the table and understood that if they walk away from their ambitions, which at present they say they're not ambitions to have a nuclear warhead, but they have full rights to enrich uranium, they're saying, okay, we're going to counter this with a 5-year counteroffer. And America's saying, well, you know what? We're not going to do that either. So I think the real pressure here comes with the midterm elections. If we see oil shock continue, and that is a very, very realistic thing. I mean, the last container, the last VLCC ships have pretty much unloaded their oil in the refineries, and there's nothing coming for a long time. We've got to remember that the average tanker goes about as fast as a bicycle. So if you're going to be riding a bike from the Middle East to the shores of the United States, it's going to take a long time.
Well, obviously, as you've mentioned, Washington and Tehran are not the only actors here. Now, if diplomacy between them stalls completely, what would you say that means for the wider region, particularly for these energy routes, all these Gulf allies and military calculations?
I mean, a terrific question, and I think a lot of people should be asking that. I think a total collapse in diplomacy, would trigger a much more dangerous phase than we're already in here, especially for the Middle East region. I mean, these are energy routes that are badly needed for 20% of the oil production. I mean, we've seen the United States go and use, between 200 to 400 million barrels of oil of their emergency fund to keep the oil prices down. But we are seeing different prices in the speculative derivatives market, which is paper oil trades, and then the actual spot crude on what it's landing at, and it's coming in at about a 30% premium or even 40% premium. Now, the Strait of Hormuz, which normally handles 20 global market, currently is only seeing about 5% of its actual traffic. And I mean, a permanent stall would cement this disruption. Iran knows exactly what they're doing here. If this keeps it up, we're talking 200 million or $200 barrel oil. Iran has already demonstrated its capability with counterstrikes on the U.S. bases. And the closure of the strait, I tell you, without a diplomatic off-ramp, we risk a serious shift, guys, from limited strikes to a full-scale regional conflict involving energy, infrastructure, Middle East. Countries like Qatar, UAE are facing existential threats. Get this, guys, 93 to 96% of their LNG exports are currently stranded. Go figure. See if you can run an economy when your bottom line is pretty much wiped out.
Well, having all of that in mind, would you say that in the heads of the decision makers in both capitals, that this is a temporary freeze in peace talks, or could they maybe be thinking of this as the start of a much more dangerous phase with all of that you've mentioned?
These temporary freezes don't do anything. I mean, this just isn't a freeze. This is in an absolute isolation. And it's a perma-freeze, which has reverberations around the entire Earth here. I mean, we are pretty much in a landlocked situation here with oil. Oil is connected to everything, and everybody uses it on a day-to-day basis, not just to gas up their cars, but in very many other sectors. We may see a food crisis happen here very quick in the next 60 to 90 days. Now, the Americans, they talk about, we export so much oil, we can survive. Well, no, you can't, because they may export 4.2 million barrels a day, but they actually import 6.2 million barrels of oil a day. Now, why is that discrepancy? Well, America does have different types of oil. It's more of a chemistry thing here. They have a lot of fracking oil. That can't be pretty much, put through and made back into gasoline or other oil products because they don't have the infrastructure to do that. So they export that. Now they need the stuff that their refineries in Louisiana can pretty much refine. And it's a difficult position. So much harder for the Americans to get out of this one. They have actually put the entire global economy at risk here. A freeze, that's not a solution. I think even if tomorrow morning everything was settled, we're going to feel this for years to come.
Well, just today, amid this freeze, we saw Iran's top diplomat in St. Petersburg meeting Russia's Vladimir Putin. According to the Iranian Foreign Ministry, Araqchi told Putin that U.S. destructive habits and unreasonable demands are slowing down the diplomatic progress. Now, when you take into account that the possibility of these negotiations faltering. What is Tehran's message here with coming to speak with Putin? What's the main driver here? Is it the alliance that might broaden? What would you say it is?
Well, I think it can take some advice from Russia how to keep your economy going when you've been under 20 separate sanctions from the Europeans and the entire world, when your banking system's been cut off by SWIFT, when Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and every American enterprise has vacated the country, and your citizens are blocked from even traveling. I think Russia's got some great advice for Iran. And another thing is, yes, it is to allies. It's allies. Same with China. And you put these three together, they are along what the world needs. Does the world need oil right now? You better believe it. Does it need natural gas? You better believe it. And does it need things that Russia has? Infrastructure support. The Chinese have an amazing banking system and a currency that is now being used by Iran to do transactions. So these global three here are quite interesting. They have been actually pushed into the arms of each other, not because of they have any bad intentions, because America has set the stage for this. And this is what happens when you bully, bankrupt, and try to bust a company or a country up. They're going to go with their allies, and exactly this is what's happening. And Russia is willing and waiting for Iran to come, and get ready. It's going to be some interesting months ahead.
Alex, thank you so much for coming on Primetime and sharing your thoughts.